it is for sure exciting times. And as I told you before we started chatting here, I just arrived a few days ago to London, and the weather is beautiful, and the premiere is closing in.
Okay. Fredrik, for our audience and our listeners, you might give us an idea of what The Amateur is about.
I would say, to make it short, I would say it's kind of a Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne, hardcore action thriller, a lot of tension, like a heist movie, but with some other elements.
Yeah. And how did the opportunity come about for you, Fredrik, to get involved in the project? Was it a traditional talent agent role where you were sent a script, maybe marked in secrecy and not knowing what sort of part and self-tape for it? Send it away, not knowing what would happen, and say, wondering would you ever hear from it again? And lo and behold, you open your email one day and you decide, we need you to be here 24 hours later.
Well, actually, that's the way it usually is, right?
The way of the
And
world now, the days of
yeah,
auditioning in person are gone, I'm afraid.
this was an interesting, actually, because I did for like 4 or 5 years ago, I did a feature film, American feature film in Riga called War Hunt. It's
Yeah.
I shot with Robert Napper and Mickey Rourke, and this same casting director that hired me for that project contacted me and said, "I got something for you, very interesting, and we're gonna shoot it here in Riga, and I want you to have a look at it." And I took a look at the scene, and I read the script, and it's like I told you before, it's a great script, like Jason Bourne, the intensity of Jason Bourne film, and I loved it. Then my character description, it's one of the guys taking Rami on a mission to Russia. It's a half Finnish sailor, sea captain, actually. And the description of the sea captain called Makinen was a fresh, healthy looking sea captain. And I was like, is this, military captain, or what kind of captain is this? And I called the production, or actually the casting director, and she said, well, actually, I don't know. They haven't decided yet. But looking at the description, I started thinking about the character and looked at the scene, and I thought, I'm going to do it my way. This guy is not going to be healthy. He's not going to be fresh looking. He's going to be more of a drunk or someone like that. So I remember I was on my studio in Stockholm, and I fetched some water, like a big can of water, and I put it in front of the camera, and I started the scene rubbing my face, all red, full of water in the hair, looking like someone just coming out of the sauna, a little bit too much to drink, and I did the scene. I kind of improvised the scene, and I had a lot of fun with it. And a few weeks later, they contacted me and said, they really like it, and they want you to play the character.
Oh, fascinating.
Uh, so I did something which on the text was something completely opposite, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes being bold and being brave gets rewarded, and that was very much the case in terms of this.
It was definitely. And I think, being in a creative environment, that's what it is. It's a feature film, and the writer has ideas, the director has ideas, but then they're waiting for the actors to come in with their ideas. And I felt especially on this production, working with James Hayes and Rami Malek, they were very open for actors coming in and bringing something to the table, which is always very nice in an actor's point of view.
And Fredrik, in terms of shooting location, where were your own scenes shot? I do believe the movie was shot in different places around the world, but where was your own sort of scene shot?
Yeah, so originally we were going to shoot it in Riga, but then there was this strike, in America, so everything was pushed forward, and I finally ended up in Istanbul, in
Okay.
Turkey, and we were out in the ocean, like on a big boat. since I'm a sea captain. And I remember coming to Istanbul and being at the hotel, doing the makeup test. And at that time, I've been doing. Before that, I did Wheel of Time, and I did another production. So I had a big beard, I had a long hair, and I didn't, cut my hair or shave for almost a year. So when I went into a mask, they were pretty happy about it. They were like, "Wow, that's great. You you look like shit. That's great." And I remember sitting at the bar the day before we started shooting, and I remember Rami coming into the hotel, and he went straight up to me. He's a really nice guy, and he introduced himself, and he's like, "Glad to have you here." And he told me my character was actually one of the first they started casting for this project. And since Rami is producer, he's a very creative producer, so he's very hands-on. So he knows, he knows his things. And I felt a great warm welcoming. And that night we all went out for dinner. James Hayes, the producers, Rami, and the rest of the team. So it was a great way of starting to shoot this project, like very familiar,
And I watched the trailer of The Amateur as well, and you mentioned there in terms of Bourne effect, and I got a real sort of the nuance of these new James Bond movies as well that have been released with Daniel Craig, the latter ones as well. There's the same sort of intensity in terms of The Amateur that I find with the later the Bonds as well. There's almost that sort of an overlap in terms of real hands-on, gritty sort of in-your-face action.
Definitely, yeah. And it's actually once here and there, it's kind of brutal as well. It is, and I think I think the character. Well, we were all blown away by Rami's performance in Bohemian Rhapsody. And I think it's a nice casting, him playing that type of character, because it's not the stereotypical character, I would say, but he's right there. He's right there.
Yeah. And Fredrik, I do believe it's busy times for you at the moment. It's all action as well. Do you have any other projects that you might want to let our audience and listeners know about, that you have disclosure that might be coming our way later in 2025?
Yeah, definitely. You should keep your eyes out for The Last Supper, which is an American feature film. I just shot it this fall, 5 weeks in Morocco, together with director Mauro Borelli and my good friend Rob Napper, which I know you met a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a classical, The Last Supper story, but with Mauro's perspective. He said to me, I asked him, why do you do this film? And he said, it's like a painting. It's like Leonardo da Vinci. And it's very visual, he's been working with Tim Burton and very visual, creative persons before. And like you said, it's a beautiful film, and with a strong classical story. So keep your eyes out for The Last Supper.
Okay. And I do believe, Fredrik, you're a busy actor. You've shot all over the world, shot a lot in Europe as well. Is Ireland on your bucket list to shoot sometime in the near future, to play a Viking or an old Norwegian, sort one of the invaders back in the 1800s, relive a bit of Irish history?
Definitely, definitely. And since you're doing so much great Viking productions over there, and I've been in touch with a lot of people who's been there and doing those kind of productions. That's actually my next bucket list. Doing a Viking production in Ireland. I want to see the beautiful landscape, the beautiful settings, surroundings, and I heard there's a great team over there working with these exciting projects. So yeah, for sure.